Hey, what's up, guys? Time for a Sunday morning / afternoon live stream. So we're up and running. Been traveling for a bit, so I haven't been doing as many videos as I wanted to. So I've got some stuff kind of been resting this weekend, and let's go ahead and get this guy up. All right, cool. So I figure I'll share with you guys. I did an update video a couple days ago as far as some of the things I'm working on. There's been some additional things that I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys first, just kind of some initial things that are coming out, some announcements, and then we'll hop into kind of Q&A type thing. So as far as the new stuff that's coming, kind of the exciting things, right? There's a new laser jammer that's being developed right now. I've put a link in the video description if you want to check it out. Jag42 actually has it installed in his car right now, so you can take a look. It's very similar to the ALP. It can jam the Dragon Eye guns. A lot of that stuff is being developed right now. It's got some cool different changes, like a dual diode setup optional inside the heads. They're still working on some hardware changes, things like that. So pretty much a new, very capable looking laser jammer that should cost less than the ALP. Again, the guys in Texas have been doing a lot of testing. The engineer flew over from Taiwan to work with the testers from Texas. And so there's a lot of stuff going on with that. Most of the discussion has been on RDF up in the advanced sections, but there's now some information that's available publicly. And so I put a link in the video description to where you can see the discussion, some photos of it installed, all that kind of stuff. So you can take a look down there. I guess another thing that I've been watching is I did a video the other day about the GT360, about kind of the price free fall on that one. It's gone down since. The Max 360, same thing. It's now on Amazon for like $419, which is less than the cost of a V1 plus the Bluetooth module, which is kind of interesting because the whole idea of like, well, you get the V1 because it's cheaper than the Max 360 usually. But this one now it's cheaper than the V1 with a Bluetooth module. I still think that the V1 for enthusiasts especially is a better choice. You don't have the same lockup issues. You have a lot more customizability and all that kind of stuff, you know. But for kind of the general purpose person, $419, that makes it really appealing at that price point, you know. So that's kind of something interesting. And if you all want to put a link for that in the video description too. Something else, the Uniden R1 and R3. The update software, it's currently only available for Windows. However, there is finally Mac update software. Yay, Mac users like me, if you guys are Mac users as well. There's Mac update software that's going to be coming out soon for the R1 and the R3. I've had a chance to beta test it. I updated my detector, worked just fine. So they're just kind of getting everything ready for their website to launch it, make it available, all that kind of stuff. So the software exists. And that's going to be coming out soon. So for any of you guys who've been wanting Mac update software for the R1 and the R3, that's going to be coming soon as well. So great news there. I guess something else I've been working a lot with running lately, the Pro M and the RCM. It's weird. I've been running these because I was kind of expecting them to be quiet, but my wife has been complaining about these ones when I run it more often than usual, which has been kind of surprising. So there's some things that I'm kind of figuring out with these. There's things like when you pass a red light camera alert, you can mute the red light camera alert, but then it still alerts you audibly when you pass the red light camera source. It doesn't stay muted. There's some weird things with switching between auto, city, and highway mode. So I submitted some feedback to Redenso, both the RCM, the remote, and the Pro M, the windshield mount. So kind of some weird stuff there. Kind of my takeaway from the RCM review, for those of you guys who remember it, was it needs some refinement. And I'm seeing kind of the same sort of thing with the Pro M. It's not just performance and filtering and MRCD. There's kind of some, I'm definitely noticing a difference in my experience using it. And also my wife is noticing it too, in terms of how noisy it is, you know, which has been very, very surprising to me. I was not expecting that at all. So that's kind of something I'm figuring out and working on. So yeah, all that stuff, links for all that, like the Max 360 or the new laser jammers, you'll find links to that down in the video description. Those are kind of the initial like announcements / things that I've been working on and new stuff that's coming that I want to share with you guys. So with that said, on to the Q&A. Let's start with Abraham. Thanks, Abraham. Does it make sense to install ALP on a leased vehicle? Good question. So I actually did on my last car. Before my Miata, I was driving a Hyundai Sonata. It was a leased car. I had it for 3 years. And that was one of my concerns. I had the Blinder HP 905, and it was different because that one, the controller, instead of having a control pad that you can just tape to your car or whatever, you actually had to drill a physical hole into your center console, which is what I did. So I drilled a hole in my center console, and I also installed the mounts and everything in my grill. and I ran the cable through the firewall. I didn't actually have any issues when I went to return the car. I left that controller in the center console unplugged and not doing anything. And Blinder sent me a replacement so I could keep it. I just had a new one to plug in my Blinder into my HP 905s. I pulled the heads out, I pulled the CPU out and everything. And so there was no issue. When I went to lease return it, I was curious, if they would be concerned about that. They didn't see it. It wasn't an issue. And something that was surprising, this is for Hyundai. I can't speak for all manufacturers, but they allow for a certain amount of damage to the vehicle. So like a certain amount of scratches or dings per body panel and a certain size, as long as they're small enough. They allow for a certain amount of curbing to the wheels and stuff. And so they actually allow for some damage to the vehicle in that sense, because they understand there's going to be some wear and tear as long as it's not excessive. And so you'd maybe want to read over the kind of the terms and conditions of your lease and what they look for as far as returns. And I don't think it'll be an issue. They're not going to check for things like drilling through the firewall, or oftentimes you can go through existing cable runs, existing holes, mounting in the grill. If you have to drill through and like cut your grill, that may be an issue. On my Miata, I did have to. On my last car, the leased one, I didn't. So it kind of depends, but a lot of times you can be just fine and you won't have any issue. So that was my experience, and just kind of things to look into. Wilson Costa, R3, is it best to buy today? Pretty much, yeah. Kind of the short answer, I guess, at this point, without getting into the crazy long discussions. Yeah, the R3 is pretty much the best one to get nowadays. Let's see, Tiny Teapot. How has the Blackview 4K been holding up? Really good. I'm liking it a lot. I threw in a 128 gig memory card as well. You can get one for like $40, and it's get plenty of record time now. And it's been working really well. So I plan on doing a review of it. It's kind of like the DR750S, if you've seen my review of that, but with 4K. And they've also made some improvements to the firmware. So there's things like now in case of a collision when you're parked, if you're connected to Wi-Fi via the cloud, it can automatically upload that footage to the cloud. It doesn't just save it to the memory card. It can also upload it, which is nice in case you have a break-in or something. It can automatically upload that footage if your camera gets stolen. So there's been some improvements over the DR750S, like from when I did that review. The 750 has that feature now as well, and it wasn't covered in the review. And so I plan on doing an updated review. It's, again, kind of like the 750, but with 4K, a few other minor changes and whatnot. But yeah, so I'll be doing a review of that one. It's doing really well, and it seems to be pretty much my favorite all-around dash cam so far in terms of video quality, features, parking mode stuff, dual channel, the Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff. It's not perfect, of course. I wish the startup was faster. I wish it did 4K 60 FPS. That would be cool. I'd like to do a comparison with the GoPro and even my iPhone 8 to see, like how these guys compare with their 4K footage. I'm guessing the 4K video is actually better here than it is in the Blackview. So it's not perfect. There's still room for improvement, but kind of overall, big picture, seems to be a really good choice. So yeah. Let's see. PVK LOL. Every now and then I get a check FR message on my Max 360C. Interesting. So that stands for check front receiver, like front receiver and rear receiver, the two antennas. I saw the same issue with the Redline EX, which is kind of weird because it doesn't have a rear receiver. That issue is usually something you'll see with the remotes, like the Max CI, for example. Check front receiver if the cable's unplugged. Contact Escort, you may have to send in your detector. It may be a firmware update. I forget exactly what, but you'll need to contact Escort about that. I think this is the first time I've heard it on a 360C, but good to know. Either way, contact Escort and they should be able to take care of you. Chris Rybecki. Hopefully I said that right. Rybecki. Best mount and mirror tap for the R3. The windshield mount, it's fine. Here we go. I've got my R1 here. The suction cup works well. I do notice the suction cups tend to get really flat. Maybe you can see it here too. And after a while, if you kind of mount and unmount it quite a bit, these suction cups tend to lose their grip quite a bit. As far as the mounts, there is an eBay one you can get. If you search, it's like a sticky tape on one side and then a mount on the other. Just a little bent piece of metal with like sticky tape attaches to the windshield. You can get it for like $8 or $9. It's really cheap. If you want to do a mirror mount, there's the blend mount and there's the radar mount. I tested both of them. The blend mount is a lot better. They have an R3 mount now as well. Radar mount, it's cheaper. It's like $30 instead of 90 something bucks. So it is cheaper. Last I heard, they're beta testing an R3 mount. I don't think it's available yet. I did a comparison on my website. If you want to search for blend mount versus radar mount, you'll see a comparison between the two mounts. I have both. I think the blend mount is quite a bit better product, but you can get either one. And of course, the price is different too. I recommend the blend mount in general. If you want to save cash, go for the eBay thing, or you could try the radar mount too. And then as far as mirror tap, any one of them will work. They're all standard. Escort, Redenso, like the XP, Valentine, Uniden, they all use the same pinout as far as power. So any one of them will work, and you can just get whatever mirror tap fits into your mirror, and you'll be good to go. Let's see. Anything from Escort by John Windsor about fixing the lockup bug. The lockup bug. Yeah, for these ones, I hope they fix it. I really hope they fix it. It's a stupid issue. The fact that it's been going on this long, I don't know what the deal is. If they fired their engineers who were working on it, or why can't they just fix it on one and then bring the updates over to the other detectors? Like, there's been some discussion with other software developers about the abstraction that they've done, why it's so difficult to address the issue. They're working on it. I think they've just been trying to save money, and like a lot of people at Escort are no longer there. And so maybe they don't have access to the same engineers. And so they're hiring on new people. Totally speculating here. Don't quote me on this. This is not a fact, but just kind of my guessing from what I'm seeing. I'm guessing maybe they have other people on board who don't really know the software. So they're having to relearn it and figure things out. And maybe they still have the same people, but they're busy doing other things. I don't know what the deal is, but it's just weird, the fact that this issue continues to exist and it's not getting addressed in any sort of timely manner. So we're all sitting here like, what the heck, and then just kind of speculating as to why it's taking so long. So no real information yet, and it's weird to see that. So yeah. Let's see. Plato Dimitriadis, Greek name. I just, this past weekend, I went to New York and was hanging out with my wife's aunt and her boyfriend who's Greek. And so I was learning all about Greek. Your name sounds Greek, which is why I bring it up, and trying Greek food, which is delicious, by the way, and learning about the history and all this kind of stuff. So, hey, hat tip to you. Anyway, how's the B124 doing for you? Good. I like it a lot. I've got it installed on my car. I've been running it for a while now. I've been logging how much record time I get when I go on trips. So like when I start driving, it's like, 100% battery, and then I'll drive, and then I get to the end of the drive, or I guess other way around. End of the drive, I'm at 100%, and then I park, and then I come back the next day and I see how much battery life I have left. And then I track it to see how long it takes to recharge, from like 20% to 80% if I go on a drive. So I've been logging all that kind of stuff lately, kind of in preparation for the review, so I could see in practice, how long does it take to recharge? How much life do I get? I also want to compare it to the Power Magic Pro that I have installed in my car and see how much more record time I get with the B124 as opposed to my car battery. So I still need to do that comparison, which is the main reason I haven't gotten into like really sitting down and running the numbers to do the review. But yeah, I'm really liking it. It's my favorite one so far. It's pretty much a Cell-Link Neo, but there are a few small changes here. Let's see, I'll pull it up real quick for the app. Not a big deal, but things like if you pull up the Blackview app, there's an option here for the Blackview battery. And if you tap on that, it'll pull up the Blackview battery app. So there's a little bit more integration with the Blackview app. Not that it's a big deal to just run it independently and, have two different apps, but it's just super little differences like that. Otherwise, it's the same thing as a Cell-Link Neo. I've noticed the recharging is smoother on the app, and the numbers that I'm seeing in the app are more in line with what they advertise. I was getting really fast recharge times on the Neo, but it was even faster than what others were reporting and what they advertise on their website. Whereas with the Cell-Link or the B124, the recharge times are actually more in line with what's being advertised and what other people are seeing. So a little bit weird stuff with the app with the Neo. I'm not totally sure what that's about, and I'll mention that in the review. But otherwise, yeah, I think the B124 is a great pick. Pricey, about $300. And there's also little things like they support more than one expansion pack. I think the Neo is capped at one expansion. That may not be the case since it's the same thing. But Blackview advertises you can have maybe 2 or 3 or 4 expansion batteries if you want for like crazy, ridiculous record times, But other than that, yeah, same idea. Obi-Wan Kenobi, do you ever share your thoughts on the A119 after putting it up against the other dash cams? Not yet. I plan on doing that. Right now, I'm finishing up the DoD stuff. I want to do the Blackview 4K, the 2 DoD cams. I haven't finished those, and then after I'm done with the $300 to $400 cams, I want to switch over to the A119s. And the main reason is I don't have enough room on my windshield to run like 9 dash cams at a time. So I needed to finish up my current ones, take those off my windshield, and then put on a lot of the A119 ones and the Rove, and kind of compare the like $100-ish dash cams. And so I'm waiting to finish those before I move on to the A119s. And that's why I haven't covered those ones yet. So good question. Daniel Tamas, is the R3 really better than the Max 360? I've done tons of videos and posts on my website about that. yes, better range. The Max 360 seems to have better BSM filtering. It's got auto lockouts instead of manual. It's got arrows. The price now is almost the same as the R3, so it's no longer significantly more expensive. For a lot of people, the Max 360 is going to be a better choice if you want something more plug and play. It's got Bluetooth compatibility. You can put the speed limit of the road that you're driving on screen. Personally, I still prefer the R3. I like the higher performance. I like the updates better. I like the fact that it doesn't lock up from time to time when you're detecting radar signals. I find the customer support to be a lot better. And personally, I really believe in supporting customers that treat their customers right and treat people with courtesy and respect. And that to me is a really big thing as well. If we maybe don't factor that in, that changes things. But for me, yeah, I think the R3 is a really great detector. And I even did a video about the lockup issues that these guys are experiencing lately. And that to me has been kind of a big thing of like why it makes it a lot tougher to recommend it. I'm still doing it. And I even talk about it at the beginning, how, you know, the prices dropped and all that kind of stuff. So I totally get it that for a lot of people, it's really appealing and you would want the Bluetooth and maybe the auto lockouts instead of manual and the arrows. And I totally get it. So I'm not going to reject it outright. And I still think there's a lot of value there, but my opinion of that has been going down recently. So it's my thoughts on the R3 versus Max 360. Ashish Paul, any updates for 1.37 for the R3? Not yet. I asked about it recently. I know they're still working on MRCD stuff. The Mac update software is coming out soon. There are some things that I would like to see, like the ability to mute red light camera alerts, not just delete them, but mute them. Red light camera or speed camera, I forget. You don't currently have that ability. I'd like to see better, what's it called? Better BSM filtering. That would be kind of nice. The Max 360 actually does have a little bit better BSM filtering, excuse me. And I believe the Renenso Pro M does as well, and the XP. So the R3 could use a little bit better BSM filtering. It's not bad, but it's also not the best out there. So I'd like to see some improvements there. But yeah, so hopefully more updates, but I haven't heard anything and I'm not beta testing any sort of new beta firmware yet for the R3. So 1.37 is still, it's what I'm running and it's currently the latest still. Obi-Wan Kenobi, you need to buy a bigger car for more windshield real estate. Yeah, that would be nice. I've actually been looking at getting an SUV. One, once I start having kids, yeah, that's not going to work for that. And also, too, where we're moving, we're probably going to have a little bit more snow and fewer plowed roads to deal with. And so I don't know if winter tires would be enough. So four-wheel drive SUV might be kind of nice, too. So I'm looking at that. And one thing I'm definitely taking a look at is having more room on the windshield for stuff, making sure the grill can install jammers and remote radar detectors and all the kind of stuff to make sure I can keep doing all this stuff. And my car has to be compatible with what I do and being able to test all this, you know, so definitely looking at that. Ken Ichikawa, just dropping in to say hello. Hey, what's up? Oh, have a great time with your family. Let's see. Z400 Racer 37. Have you run a Pro M yet? Is it the same thing as the RCM? Yeah, actually. So I talked a little bit about that earlier, probably before you tuned in. I was running it yesterday, and I even posted some videos and or not videos, some photos on Instagram. Feels like my coffee is finally starting to kick in. I was a little tired before shooting this video. I was like, I want to do a live stream, but now it's kicking in, and anyway, yeah. So I've been running it. I like it less than I thought I would. There's still some quirks as far as the interface and some things that need to be tweaked. I'm not a really huge fan of the buttons. Some things with the red light camera alerts, the way the sensitivity settings adjust. The GPS isn't the greatest. It usually takes me about 3 to 5 minutes to get a GPS lock here, where my other ones lock a lot quicker, which means I can be driving around and my low speed muting hasn't kicked in. My lockouts haven't kicked in. I don't know why it takes longer with this one. And I noticed even longer with RCM. I'm going to have to double check my GPS antenna again. But I mean, I drove around the other day for 15 minutes and I couldn't get a GPS lock, which is kind of atypical. So I need to go in and double check the GPS to figure out what's going on. But I'm kind of having some issues with those and they're not as smooth. And I don't know. I was hoping for a little bit better experience, but it's not quite there yet. And I mentioned in my RCM review that it needs a little bit more refinement. And I'm kind of seeing that with the Pro M as well. There's just some issues that I'm running into that I wasn't expecting to. So I'm not as excited about these ones as I was hoping to be, which is why I haven't really focused on them as much. I still haven't even done the setup tutorials about here's how to program it. Here's what all the buttons mean, you know? And really the main reason is I'm just not as excited about them. I could do the videos, but I'm kind of doing stuff that I'm personally more excited about in the meantime. So yeah. Let's see. In your experience, is it better to get the Max CI 360 or separate radar and laser for the higher end stuff? Personally, I believe in getting the best. The Max CI, excellent for radar. The laser's pretty good, but there are some limitations as far as updates and supporting multiple heads for larger vehicles. ALP is just a better product on laser. And so now that Escort has it available for radar, I believe it's better to get separate radar for the Escort and then split off and get the ALP separately. Does mean you have two controllers, not a huge deal. And you have two separate speakers, whatever. You can get the integrated laser, but there's still some basic things like the ability to automatically disable your jammers after a couple seconds with the Escort that they still haven't implemented, which means anybody who's driving around with the Escort jammers and doesn't know about killing their jammers is going to be jamming the officers indefinitely, jammed a gun, which is stupid. Their previous gen jammers are they offered, a timer to kill the jammers, but the new Escort ones don't. And I mean, this has been such a commonly requested feature that Escort is not implementing. They still can't fix the lockup thing here. And so the updates that Escort is doing, it leaves a lot to be desired. And so if you want a good system that's both effective and is going to continue to be improved and updated over time, I really strongly believe in the ALPs. So yeah, ALP for laser and the Escort, okay for radar. Let's see. By Chris Rybacki, will the 360 Max potentially do a better job in the R3 due to the rear antenna for rear detection? Sure, you'll get longer rear detection. It's not necessarily going to lead to any sort of saves. The R3 can still detect radar from behind because it's so sensitive and radar signals bounce. But the main benefit, besides longer rear detection, which there's tests online, you can take a look. The Texas guys did one. It's really just the fact that it gives you arrows. Right. If an officer is behind you and he's shooting you with radar on an overpass or just behind you in traffic, both detectors are going to go off. The Max 360 just makes it easier to tell that he's behind you because you have the arrows. And that's really the benefit. It's understanding direction as opposed to getting longer range behind you. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Cody Berserk. Yo, is the Uniden R3 the best on the market right now? This question comes up so much. It's funny. And it's kind of one of those things where like I keep doing videos and articles and stuff, and maybe it's just easier to say yes with no extra, but if you need these features or whatever, like it would be nice to have a really simple answer to that. Is the Ferrari the best car on the market? Is a truck the best on the market? Is a Prius the best? It really depends on your needs. There is no one that's best for everybody. But to simplify the answer, the R3, in my opinion, yeah, I think it's the best one out there. I still run others because I think there's value and they offer things that the R3 doesn't. But if we were to just get something really simply without any sort of qualifier, which I think is a terrible idea because another detector may be better, yeah, I would say the R3 is the best. But again, I've covered this many, many times in the past in terms of other articles and videos. You may want the other features that other detectors offer. Better BSM filtering, arrows, auto lockouts, whatever. There's definitely a good reason to get another detector. So yeah, when the R3 gets arrows, that would be awesome. Whenever Uniden releases that, again, there's probably still going to be extra qualifiers with with the price drop of the Max 360. It's getting close to the price of the R3 now. The R3 with arrows is probably going to be more expensive than where the Max 360 is now. And so should you get the Max 360? No, if you don't need the RDD immunity, it'll still have auto lockouts. I don't know if Uniden will do Bluetooth or something. So again, there's still going to be benefits to the Escort and the V1, which also does Bluetooth and whatnot, and has excellent arrows. Who knows how Uniden is going to design it and how it's going to be implemented. And so I'm really hoping that the Uniden one has, really good arrows. I'm looking forward to auto lockouts. That's a big thing for the general consumer. So yeah, that'll something to keep an eye out on. So yeah, let's see. Yep. As soon as Uniden comes out with arrows, Uniden actually updates the firmware. They do, which is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And they don't really release the same kind of stupid stuff that I see from other manufacturers. So yeah. What about you guys? What have you been working on? And like, what kind of things? I'm kind of curious to hear for you guys. Like, what sort of things are you installing in your car? I know you guys see like the dash cams and the detectors and all the stuff. I've got stuff that I'm installing. I'm going to be doing a new I want to do the rear antenna for the RCM, but I'm curious to hear what you guys are doing in your car, or maybe especially anything that you guys are testing or learning about. I'd love to hear that. So while I take a quick coffee sip, I got a new switch panel. What do you have set up to your switch panel? Z400 Racer 37. Is it to like an external kill switches for your radar detector and laser jammer, or what do you have set up in there? Maybe something else non-CM related? while you guys are typing. Something else that I thought was kind of interesting. Let's see. What phone mount do you use? So for those of you guys have the R3, the R1 has this black mount. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Best Buy does this. They're doing an R3 and an R1 case essentially. So if you don't want the silver top here, it's like a Best Buy exclusive where they're doing an R3 with the black top, which I think is kind of cool. It makes it look stealthier, kind of like the R1, and black trim here instead of chrome trim. So that's something that it's like a Best Buy exclusive thing, kind of nice. I don't think it's going to be released to the general public or, well, to other stores, but that's kind of something cool I figured I'd mention. So let's see. Okay, so, oh, that's cool. A new switch panel for jammer, radar, light bars, and stealth brake lights. Wow. That's pretty cool, having everything controlled like that. Cool. That sounds like a nice setup. Let's see. What phone mount do you use? Superb Bot. I use the, I forget who makes it. Man, who makes it? I've used them before. It's one where like the phone basically just like clips in and then it grabs the side of it. I can add a note about that later. And basically it has like wireless charging built in, so I don't have to plug in my iPhone anymore. Since the iPhone 8 has wireless charging, I can just put it on the mount and it starts charging. It's kind of nice. I use one of those. Really handy mount. I like it. A little bit of vibration because I have to move it forward quite a bit. There's a lot of leverage against the mount. But feature-wise, it's pretty cool. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see, where was the other one? Amir 8051. Is radar spoofing illegal? Generating a counter signal to show a lower speed. So number one, technically that's actually pretty challenging to do. There used to be products that could do that. There was like the Phantom and the Scorpion, but they fell out of tune really quickly, so they stopped working, and they were more effective against some of the older radar guns, not the newer digital ones. There's the Blue Raider, which is only available internationally. It works, but usually it only works on like X-band and K-band. It doesn't work as well on the Ka-band guns. The main issue, though, is it's like insanely illegal here in the US, as in like prison time and massive financial penalties if you're caught to jam radar, which is very different than laser. Laser governed by the FDA, the people who make sure that food is healthy and that the laser doesn't damage your eyes, which is why it's FDA. FCC governs radar and like radio waves and telecommunications and stuff. So two completely different agencies, two completely different sets of rules. So radar jamming is like insanely illegal. So even if it wasn't as technically challenging as it is, you still have some pretty big legal hurdles. So like companies wouldn't want to produce them, people wouldn't want to buy them. And so radar jamming, don't do it. It would be kind of cool to like travel to Mexico or wherever they're not as illegal and just test them out, you know, and do some videos. But here in the US, no radar jamming. It's just radar detection and then laser jamming. Let's see. R3 stuff, that's cool. Let's see. Any radar system under development? Nope, for the reasons as I just explained. I'm digging the DR592 channel. Oh, cool. Glad you're liking that one. I've heard mixed stuff about that. One guy noticed he was complaining about the video quality, but it might have been just that one. It seems like a nice way to get like a newer Blackview cam. If you don't need the GPS and the Wi-Fi, which honestly a lot of people don't. I mean, once you have it set up, you don't need the Wi-Fi to aim your camera. And I mean, I've got it for the cloud stuff, which I don't use. And so whatever. A lot of people don't want the GPS, you know, to track where you are, that kind of stuff. You don't need your speed displayed on screen. So that's a nice way to save some cash is the DR590. So I'm glad to hear that you're liking it. So yeah. Whew. Awesome. So good. As far as today's stuff, I plan on doing more videos starting tomorrow. Today is just kind of like a relaxing day. I'm going to head off to the gym here in a bit and then going out to the park later today with friends to bring games, drinks, take our dog out, just walk him around. It's like 80 something degrees today. It's getting hot. So we're going to go out in the sun and bake. Just enjoy the sun out in the grass at the park, take our dog, that kind of stuff. So it should be a nice relaxing day. And I haven't done a video in a while, so I figured I'd do this. And yes, happy Mother's Day to all of you guys. If you haven't called or talked to your mom yet and wished her a happy Mother's Day, that's today. Make sure you do that. So yeah, big shout out to everybody's mom. My mom's awesome. Love you, Mom. You're fantastic. Let's see. Did you get your mom a radar detector for Mother's Day? She doesn't really want to run one, and she doesn't need one either. So technology stuff wouldn't be the greatest for her. So no. Thoughts on wiring? Let's see. From a B124 to a B112. question for you, Plato. Do you have it plugged into the cigarette lighter or do you have it hardwired? You can do either one. They can both plug into the cigarette lighter and it's really easy to switch, or you can just do a hardwired install. I've got mine hardwired now and it just, tap into power and then ground. It's a pretty straightforward install. And yeah, let me know how you have it hardwired and then we can talk about that. Let's see. Get in the gym. Your shirt's a little loose. I know, right? Hardwired. Yes. So it depends on how you hardwired it. Did you like splice directly into a cable? Did you use mirror tap or T-tap so you can easily unplug and plug in something else? Did you crimp? So it depends. Hopefully you did it in a way where it's easy to like unplug something and plug the other one in. I don't think the cables themselves are compatible, so you're gonna have to unplug one and plug in the other one. So yeah. Oh, thank you. Matt Guy 10, the iAudi. Yes, the phone mount that I was trying to remember the name of. I believe it is the iAudi one. Let's see. I can pull this up. iAudi. Is it this one? I've got like all my links and stuff saved. Oh yeah, actually here it is. I'll put a link in in this text thing. This is the one that I use, the phone mount. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Chris Rybacki, how much should I expect to pay for a laser jammer and installation? So ALPs, they start at $750 and they can go up to over $2,000 plus, depending on how many heads, accessories, all that kind of stuff, TX heads. Install can really, really vary. It could be a few $100s for a really simple front-only install, 2 heads with minimal cutting and whatnot. I've seen installs where they can go for thousands of dollars, but that's usually for like front and rear. If you're custom fabricating covers for the heads and like all the stuff for the interior. So it can really, really vary depending on what shop you go to, how much they charge. Thousands of dollars personally, I think is a little ridiculous, but for people with higher end exotic cars and you're doing some pretty custom work, it can make sense. Some cars are more difficult to actually do the install on, and so it can really vary. So I guess it's one of those things you'd want to shop around. The main thing, though, is to make sure you know how the head should be installed properly on your car. I've got tutorials about that. If you look on my website, on the front page, if you scroll down to the ALP, there's like a review. There's how to install and the purchase links. Take a look at the link for how to install. There's like an ALP setup guide, and it'll go over exactly where and how to install the heads. That's probably the most important thing. You want to make sure that you know how to do it properly and that your installer also knows where to install them, that you two are on the same page. Because a lot of times installers are really good at knowing how to do all the wiring and stuff, but they may not know all the important little nuances of how to install a laser jammer to make it effective. And so you want to make sure that you know the ins and outs of how to install it. Yeah, and I cover all that stuff on my ALP install guide. If you want any sort of like personalized support with that, just book a private session with me and we can go over your car and make sure everything is installed properly and all the wiring's done, and I can talk to your installer, whatever you need. But just go to my website and at the top, there's a link for private session if you want that, and I can help you with that. Let's see. So Casey Knight, is it safe to leave your detector in the window all the time? Some people are worried about it getting stolen, but usually I guess it depends on where you drive and that kind of stuff. Will the heat and cold damage it? Typically not. People were asking about that in the winter up in Canada where it was like negative 30 degrees and the detectors were working still fine. Sometimes detectors will overheat in the sun if they're there just baking direct sunlight, like in Florida in the summertime for hours. They sometimes will, they have like thermal warnings and they'll actually shut themselves off. Some of them may start to malfunction, but typically detectors are, they're black and they're designed to be installed on your windshield, so they're going to get hot, So typically they're designed to be installed there, and it's okay. But usually there's like safety measures and auto cutoffs in case they do start to overheat. But if that's a concern to you, you can always pop the detector off the windshield and throw it in your glove box or something. But yeah. Safe and Sound Hardware by Cody Berserk. What's Safe and Sound? Is that like the what's it called? Is that like the hardwire cable, the mute one? I haven't tried their stuff. I haven't tested any of their stuff, but I think that's what you're referring to. Let me know. I have an STI Magnum. Would you say it's equal to the R3 by Hockey Canada 25? No. The R3 has better range, equal to better range, depending on the conditions, significantly better BSM filtering. The Magnum doesn't really have much good BSM filtering. So if you're getting a lot of K-band falses, it's got GPS. So you've got your GPS lockouts. It's got low speed muting. It's got red light camera alerts. It's better in almost every measurable way. The Magnum, you can get a Bluetooth cable for it. So you could add lockouts through your phone, but the R3 already has that built in. So, I mean, the Magnum, it's been discontinued. It doesn't really have any modern BSM filtering. The R3 is better in almost every single way. And so if you're looking for better BSM filtering or you want the extra GPS functionality, the R3 is going to be a pretty significant update for you. But if you're just running maybe KA band only and you need RDD immunity, the Magnum is just fine. So it kind of depends on your personal needs. But if you need better filtering, especially, or any of the GPS stuff, the R3 will be a big upgrade. Yeah, the Magnum can be inverted too. That's true. Yeah. So if you're running it like this, you can run it upside down. Butterfingers today, and you could do that. So that's a cool feature. So yeah, good point. Superb bop. Let's see. Some updates not worth it. Do you like the new R3 updates by Cody? Yeah, they're good. I mean, they're doing a good job. I've done some videos kind of explaining what they are. And it's nice. They're improving it, adding new features, fixing bugs, that kind of stuff. There's still some things that I'd like to see them update. Yeah, the ability to mute red light camera alerts, for example, or speed camera alerts. I forget which. That'd be nice. MRCD stuff, still in development. I don't really care, but I know for some people that's a big thing. So, let's see. Arnoldo Maldonado. How long have you had the R3? Since before it came out. I've had it since it came out. I mean, before it came out, I was beta testing it. So I had a beta unit. We were doing some testing with the guys in Texas. A couple of us around. We were all testing it, talking with Uniden about the menu design, the features that need to be done. There was a lot of discussion back and forth. Spectre testing. I mean, we're doing a lot of things with the R series betas before they were released. Tom was a big one. So yeah, I've had it before it came out. Great detector. Plato, do you have a one-time only Patreon donation? You can always sign up for Patreon and then just cancel after it charges you at the beginning of the month. On my website, I believe I still have the option to donate. I don't know if it's still there. Oh, whoops, that needs to be, it says dashboard on there. I'm going to need to fix that. Okay, I need to actually fix something on my website. For some reason at the top, if you go look now, it says dashboard. I don't even know what that is. Just leave it here. I'm going to delete this page. Get rid of that. I am fixing my website as we speak. Okay, there we go. Okay, so yeah, I think it's like vortexradar.com/donate. That work? And just goes to the Patreon page. Yeah, so probably Patreon. Yeah, I used to do PayPal stuff, but I've replaced it with that. Anyway. Cool. So that's that. So it's funny. I've kind of been sitting here waiting. I'm sitting in a different spot right now. I'm usually over at my desk with my computer, just because my wife is out walking my dog right now. And when she comes back, she doesn't necessarily want to be on video. And so I've moved into a location where when she comes back, she won't be on camera, that kind of stuff. But she said she wanted to walk our dog Albus for a little while. And turns out, yeah, I guess she's out. And so is he, enjoying the sunlight. So it's nice. Steve, what's your take on the RCM after having it a few months? I'm actually not as excited as I was hoping to be. I've run into some issues. The GPS is the main thing that I've been kind of encountering issues with. I do like it a little bit better than the windshield mount. I'm not super excited about it. I like it, but there's still, some refinement that I wish it would do. I don't know. I kind of struggle to like mute it sometimes, and I think the GPS is a big thing, and the button layout, like it's good, but it's not sensational. And I would really want it to be sensational. I guess I'm kind of picky with detectors, and I think it's good, but it's not sensational. Is kind of my take on it so far. Let's see, Darcy, when are you planning to do a home-based stationary video? What do you mean by stationary video? Home base. Let me know, Darcy, what you mean by stationary video, if you could clarify. Any reservations with the RCM, basically updatable in firmware? That's a good question. Things could be improved. I've been talking to Rodenso a good bit lately about the RCM and the Pro-M. There's things that they could improve, not related to performance, but usability. There's things like the menu. There's a lot of menu options, and you can only go forward through the menu, but if you miss an option, you have to cycle all the way back through, and there's no option to go backwards through the menu yet. Things like that they want to improve on. There's things like, what's it called? It's little things like that. I don't know, the button layout, like how mute and lockout is a different button. And so if I try to lock out a signal, but I don't have a GPS lock yet, my lockout doesn't function. and the signal keeps alerting, so I have to press a different button to mute it. So there's just little interface things that I find kind of annoying. You can get used to it, but it's just a system that's like constantly leaving me wanting, I guess, which I don't know. I'm not as enthused about it as I was hoping to be. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, so as far as cameras, I'll show you this real quick. The ones that I got, I've been keeping an eye out on, like, deal websites and stuff, waiting for the price to drop. And I just got these Reolink ones, 1440p. These are the security cameras I'm going to install in my house. They plug in via Ethernet. I'm going to have power over Ethernet to my switch. So this is going to power them and do the communication. I'm going for this over Wi-Fi since my house is it's a new construction, and I can choose where I want the wires to be run, which is really nice before they even put the walls up. Right now it's just like framing, and they've done plumbing and water and stuff, but they don't even have insulation or what's the word for the white wall? I forget. The drywall. So that's not even up yet. So it's kind of nice that I can choose where the wiring runs. So it's nice I can do a wired one. They have Wi-Fi ones too, but you still got to power them. So anyway, these are the ones that I'm doing. 1440p, good quality. You can see all the LEDs there for to help it see at night. So these are the ones that I'm going to do. I've got my power over Ethernet switch. I've got my NAS to store everything. So I plan on doing a video, kind of I'll wire it all up and show you guys what I have in mind with the home security camera stuff. I've got 3 of them that I'm going to be doing. So yeah, that's something to come. Cameras and wireless suck. Why does wireless suck? I've heard good things about it. I have a wireless one that I use for inside, and it's been fine. So I'm curious to hear about your experience. Let's see. Steve, there's been some bad coverage of Escort on RDF. Yep. Do you think they will support the Escort Max CI radar only properly and actually provide updates? I guess that's always the risk with Escort. They seem to be doing a better job with the remotes. They released a couple updates initially, but what I've noticed with Escort generally is when a new product comes out, they release a series of updates, and then support for those products starts to fall off as they release new products with new updates. And so we'll have to see, how it works how well the updates are maintained. I mean, it's already working pretty well. I haven't heard of a ton of issues and bugs. There's things I'd like to see them improve, the way the ramp up works with auto locate and whatnot. But that's not really a bug. That's just little minor interface things that I'd like to see them improve. But otherwise, I mean, it seems like it's a pretty solid system already, especially for the radar side. So yeah. Interference, depending on where you live, they can be compromised easier. Compromised how? Like Wi-Fi flooding to take them down, or interference can be an issue depending on what channel and how many other things you have. I'm running a lot of stuff on Ethernet, which is one of the reasons I think be more solid, but I guess that, yeah, it really depends on your situation. Let's see. Best way to conceal the R3 in areas where they're illegal. Usually up high behind the tint strip is the place to go. Yeah, it's the best place to do it. Under the rearview mirror is more visible, or on the windshield below the tint strip is more visible, or just go for a remote. That's going to be the stealthiest option. New R3 coming out soon. So when you guys ask me about new products, if I have something to share, I can. If I don't know anything, or if I can't share, I can't say anything. It really, really depends. And so with this one, there's really nothing. I mean, I wish I had stuff to share with you on this one, but right now it's just the R3, and yeah, it's just the R3. So I don't really have anything to share, unfortunately. I wish I did. It would be nice to have some more information to share with you guys, but nothing as far as like the new R3 replacement, Wi-Fi jammers are relevant to Wi-Fi cameras. Yeah, I guess that could be an option if somebody if somebody's bringing Wi-Fi jamming equipment to your house. That's pretty hardcore, I guess. Yeah. Let's see. What remote is stealth? I've done a whole video talking about that. If you look at my channel, STIR Plus, Max CI 360, Stinger VIP, they're all stealth. The Redenso and the NetRadar DSP less so, but still mostly stealth. The Redenso, the current ones, the rear antennas are, I would say, not a good idea to run them if you really need stealth, but the new batch of Redenso RCMs should be more stealth. The NetRadars do seem to be better. Yeah. Chris, where do I get an R3 remote and put it? The R3 doesn't come with a remote. It's a windshield mount only. You can get a remote power cable for it, so you can maybe mute it without having to reach up to the detector on the windshield, but there is no remote version of the R3. The NetRadar DSP is kind of close. Yeah, I guess that's the closest thing, but that's a different product. Let's see. In your house, it wouldn't surprise me if you have jammers for everything else. Actually, no. I don't have a lot of other jamming equipments, you know? I don't know, like Wi-Fi jammers, like those things are usually pretty illegal too. Like people will sometimes bring cell phone jammers like to movie theaters and stuff, but like that's really bad because then you start defeating people's abilities to call 911 and stuff, you know? So jamming, it can be very questionable. So you really got to do your research and stuff. Usually not a good idea to run jammers and that kind of stuff. Casey Knight, is it just me or does the R1 and R3 have a lot of problems? On RDF, someone is always having problems with them. I know. So you mentioned that from time to time. There's been a lot of discussion about that. Like the laser falsing seems to be one issue. I've never experienced it on mine, but a fair number of people are experiencing laser falsing. It typically seems to be something with the sun or with the phone, especially if you have the phone in front of the detector. A lot of times the IR sensors right there that can notice, like, hey, I put it to my ear and the screen turns off and then I take it away and the screen turns back on and that kind of stuff. Those sensors can trigger a laser false. There's also, it seems like a lot of people saying, buy this as the first radar detector, and they're like, I passed a cop and it didn't go off. Is my detector broken? Or I ran it next to another detector at the same time and I'm not getting longer range. And you talk about interference and course limited detection. And so there's a lot of new people who are just, they don't understand the stuff necessarily. So we're having to talk about that a lot. Sometimes there are issues where there is a defective detector. That does happen too. Not a lot, but there's been a lot of discussion about that. And we're not totally sure why. I think a lot of it just comes down to like newbies, essentially. They buy this as their first detector. And, I do a lot of work to try to explain a lot of the stuff, but people still have a lot of misunderstandings and whatnot. So there is a fair bit about that. You're right. We're seeing with the R1 and the R3. So yeah. Let's see. R3 is awesome. Using your settings. Just got it a month ago. Awesome. Thanks for your input. What beer are you drinking today? It's funny. So what do I have right now? It's like the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale and the Imperial IPA. Here, I'll grab them. They're both good. Here, so the ones we're gonna be taking to the park today, and I have more than I usually do, just because a funny thing with the house, which I'll tell you about in a second. But I've got the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, really tasty. I got into this. It's out of Chico, California. I was actually down there, and I wanted to get a local beer, and it's really tasty. So I got into this one when I was in California, and I've also got the Voodoo Ranger. This one's nice. I think it's like 11% or something. Yeah, 9%. So nice little stronger beer. They're Imperial IPA. IPAs and pale ales, IPAs especially, are super popular up here. I bought a 6-pack for the guy at the house because I was getting into the camera stuff. Funny story. And the cables that he was going to install were initially just going to be like just bare cable, and I was going to have to crimp on a connector to connect my cables. And that was like, I could pay extra to have him do it, and I was like, I can do that myself, no big deal. But Voodoo Ranger rocks, yeah. So the cameras that I have actually have a female connector here. And I was talking about like, hey, can I just have the connector added to the cable so I can just plug it right into my camera? And he's actually going to do that for me. And I was like, man, thank you so much. That's awesome. And so to say thank you, I bought him a 6-pack of beer and I brought it to him this weekend. And he's like, oh man, thank you so much. But I can't actually accept anything from people like cookies or beers or whatever. I think it's like a corporate policy. And I'm like, if you have your door unlocked and a 6-pack of beer just happens to show up in your car, would that work? And he's like, no. And he was laughing. And so I was like trying to give him, the 6-pack that I bought him, but like, okay, fine. At some point I'll have to, when the house is done, I'll buy you a beer or something. I don't know. Anyway, I was trying to give it to him. So now I have like extra beer that I don't normally do. So yay, but it's good beer. So anyways, beer talk. How do you use the sun visor by Mangosteen? Isn't Mangosteen a like healthy drink? Yeah, if you do, is mounting it up there recommended? I don't usually mount it on the sun visor. You can do that on my car. The sun, it'll kind of hang down a little bit, and I would rather use a sun visor to block the sun. If I do that, then I can't use my detector properly. On some cars, it's desirable. I do have a sun visor mount, not the clip one that clips onto the sun visor, but the pouch that attaches. And I've used that for testing remote radar detectors. If I don't want to install it on my grill and I want to install it in my car for just like a super initial test, I'll I'll do that, and that's an easy way to install it in the car. And so I use a sun visor pouch for remote detectors that don't have a windshield mount. So I've done that, but different if you want one, like I know Valentine and Redenso and a couple companies actually have sun visor pouches, or sorry, not sun visor clips. Just get the one for your detector, and there you go. Let's see. Make sure you run more than Cat 5 or 6. Yes. So I was wanting to run Cat 5e was a standard. I could upgrade to Cat 6, which is what I wound up going for. I've been looking at Cat 6a versus Cat 7 as well for future proofing. Those weren't options, unfortunately. So I've got Cat 6. It does support 10 gigabit, which is nice for shorter runs. I think like up to 55 meters. I believe for the distances that I'm running, I should be able to get away with 10 gigabit, which is something that I want to do at some point because of all the video files that I'm transferring. Gigabit, I'm limited to about 100 megabytes per second, and I'm already capped out on throughput. So I would like to upgrade down the line. I'll upgrade my computer and my switch and my NAS and everything up to 10 gigabit. And so for the shorter runs, I should be able to handle that with Cat 6. Fingers crossed. So yeah. Seattle Jeff, are you aware of the laws in certain states that make it illegal to mount radar detectors to the windshield? Yes. In a lot of states, that is illegal. It's typically not something that's super heavily enforced for phone mounts or GPS stuff or radar detectors. Sometimes it's only in a particular location, that kind of stuff. It is, if it's illegal, it's typically best to just do like a rear view mirror mount, like the blend mount or a remote or something. The laws definitely vary, that kind of stuff. Okay, Carlos, which batteries are better, Cellink Neo or Blackview? They're really the same thing. I've got the Blackview. There's a few small improvements I liked the Blackview over the Neo, but they're really minor, and honestly, either one is fine. So they're really the same thing with the different name printed on them. Let's see. Omer Syed. Hey, Vortex, where's the best place to store the ALP CPU within the car so the front and rear sensors can all reach it? Whatever's best. Usually somewhere under your dash is a really common place to put it. On the side or underneath is typically where people would do it because the front cables are usually shorter and the rear ones are usually longer, especially if you get the extensions. But it really comes down to the exact placement in your car. Maybe you'll want to do it on the driver's side or the passenger side, depending on where space is available or even where you run the cables through. Mine, I've got them next to the passenger's footwell. It's in there. On my last car, I had it elsewhere. So it really depends on your car and just where you have space to mount all the stuff and tuck in all the wiring and stuff, you know. Let's see. Jerry Lee, I'm planning to get the R3, but I found a used V1 for about $100 cheaper. Which one should I get? Go look on my channel for there's a video about what you need to know before buying a used V1. It'll cover things about older versions of the firmware, features that it does or does not have, filtering, Bluetooth support. A lot of times you're better off getting a new one than buying a used one. And you can call it V1 and get a returned V1 for like 10% off. So it's $360 instead of $400 with the newest firmware. So you get the newest filtering and the Bluetooth support. And a lot of times, if you're looking for a deal, that's the best way to go as opposed to buying a used one because they hold their resale value so well. And a lot of people don't know about the different versions. And so you can wind up buying a really old V1 for close to the price of a new one because people don't know about the different versions. So take a look at my channel, search for like what you need to know before buying a used V1, something like that. And it'll go over all the information you need to know and how to check what version the used one that you're looking at buying has versus buying a new one and how that compares. So take a look at that. Arnoldo, best site to get a deal on the R3. Uniden is super, super strict about them being at MSRP. $399, period. That's the place to get. Tom, BRD, he's awesome on the forums and with helping developing it and everything. So he's the one that I typically refer people to. I've got a link in the video description to where you can pick it up. Just go look in there. There's a link down there as far as talking about the new Mac software that's coming out for the R3. And the link next to it takes you to the where you can get the R3. As far as deals, sometimes eBay runs deals. Like 10% off or that kind of thing. So you can get an R3 cheaper. Again, Uniden is not super happy about that. And the reason is just that if a lot of people start buying them cheaper, they can turn around and flip them with no warranty. And then customers wind up getting screwed over. And so they're trying to avoid detectors being sold for anything less than MSRP unless, well, yeah, just in general. But sometimes eBay has a just like discounts on anything for all of eBay. So from time to time, those will pop up. And that's really the only way to get an R3 cheaper unless you want to buy one used for a little bit less. Let's see. James, what do you think about the The 360 sales saw it as cheap as 429. Yeah, so we've been discussing what the heck is going on. I talked about it at the beginning. It's actually down now to 419 on Amazon. If you want one of these, the price just keeps going down and down and down. It's kind of weird. So I don't think it's a new one. Maybe they're going to discontinue it in favor of the 360C. I don't know. Maybe they're just feeling the heat from the R3 sales. So I don't have any information as far as them discontinuing it or what's going on, but yeah, the price is going down. Paintball, did you do any performance mods to your Miata? No, actually, it's totally stock. The car is stock. I bought it used. Whoever had the car before me, they did window tint. Thank you. And they gave me free satellite radio for life. That's nice. But otherwise, the car itself is stock. And the only things that I've changed are installing, radar detectors and dash cams and laser jammers and whatnot. But it'd be nice to do some performance mods, maybe suspension or something. But I mean, I've been so focused on all my countermeasure stuff that I've just never really got into all that. And yeah, let's see. So yeah, car stock. If anything, I'll probably put money into getting a new SUV or something for family and snow and 4-wheel drive before I start putting more money into upgrading the Miata. So anyway, see you Z400. Yep. Have a great day. So, and I'll probably hang out here for another, 10, 15 minutes, something, and then I'll head out. So, yep. Jeff M, any update from Beltronics? Nope, not really. There's the GT360. It is what it is. So new detector there, but otherwise not really anything new. Let's see. Seattle Jeff 1. I'm pretty sure we live in the same general area. Yeah, probably. It's like if you're in Seattle. I've seen a lot of motorcycle cops with handheld radar or laser units, but my detector sometimes doesn't alert. Would you recommend a laser jammer? So yes, radar detector. If they're shooting like this, they're looking at the back of the screen. This is a radar gun. If they have it up to their eye, like they're looking through a viewfinder, this is going to be laser or this is going to be laser, like this, one of the two. Cops, I've seen them like in Kirkland, for example, they'll shoot Falcon HRs. Those are handheld radar guns. And then they'll shoot like a True Speed S or something, which is a handheld laser gun. Bellevue, I know they shoot Stalker 2s and True Speed S. So depending on where you are, they do a mix of both. And also keep in mind, handheld guns are very much instant-on guns. So they have a trigger, right? Dash mount ones, they can just leave on all the time and it's super easy. And they can turn those on and off. But I mean, if they just have the gun down, you're not going to get an alert. It's only when they hold the gun up and squeeze the trigger that it's going to be transmitting radar and there's anything for your detector to alert. And then laser, it's the same issue as, with anything, yeah, they shoot laser around here. I see it on 405 and I-5, see it in town. So yeah, around here, radar detector and laser jammer is good. But just because you have a radar detector does not mean that it's always going to alert to when a cop is running speed enforcement, both radar and laser for those reasons. Outside of blend mount, what rear view mirror mount would you consider for the R3? Last I heard, radar mount is beta testing an R3 one. I don't know if it's available yet. Blend mount is better in many, many different ways. I've got both. My radar mount just sits in the closet, but it's fine, and a lot of people like it. But the blend mount is a better one. I've got a review on my website, a comparison between the two if you want to take a look. But I don't know if the radar mount one is even available yet. Last I heard, it was still being beta tested. So do you have to buy by Play-Doh? Laser guns in order to test, are they legal to buy? The best way to test is to actually have a laser gun, not just one of the little handheld laser testers. You can a lot of times find people on RDF, somebody in your area who has one, and just meet up with them and do a testing session. They'll test out your car to make sure it works. And the reason that's the case is you want to make sure that your detector your jammers not only detect laser, but can also jam them, right? And depending on where the heads are installed and how they're aligned is very much going to determine how effective it can jam the guns. And so a laser gun and, shooting different areas of the vehicles, driver's side headlight, passenger headlight, center mass, moving around, you're testing different areas to see if there's any locations or angles or places of the car where you can get punch throughs. And you actually need a laser gun to test that, not just a little handheld tester to see if your laser jammers alert to the presence of laser, So getting a laser gun is the way to do it. You can find them on RDF. You can get them on eBay. Yeah, they're legal. There's no issue with buying a laser gun. So on Amazon, they do have some like laser range finders that measure distance for like golf and that kind of stuff. Not the same thing. Measuring distance is not going to be the same as measuring speed. So you actually need a police laser gun, not a handheld range finder that you'll find on Amazon. So just a heads up about that. Are there any reported red flex fans in the U.S. by James Hoigley? Yes, Arizona runs red flex. I'm not sure if they're elsewhere, but yeah, Arizona has them. Wife's LRD 950 was silent against a van here in Portland. It should be able to detect it. I was down there the other day. The Max 360 and the 360C. I've run against both of those. Against the photo radar they use in Portland, yes, your LRD 950 should be able to detect it. If it's actually transmitting radar, of course. Yeah, so it should be able to detect it. They're not red flex. They're not the super low powered ones, but yeah. Let's see. When it comes to the ALP by Omer, I don't understand how 2 regular heads and 1 TX head up front will be better against the Dragon Eye than 3 regular heads due to all 3 being able to receive the signal. Yes, so the benefit of the 3 heads is you can better detect the signal, and when one head is transmitting, the other ones are detecting. The thing about the Dragon Eye is it seems like there's a big thing where the heads operate independently. One is detecting the signal and watching as the gun continues to change. The other one is going to be transmitting. Without getting into too much technical information, yes, the way that they've actually implemented the transmitter with the TX head, it's very easy to transmit. So that one is really, really transmitting. And then the other 2 heads, the side heads, are going to be the ones doing your detection and continue to monitor. So kind of the left side of the vehicle and the right side, or right and left. I don't know if it's flipped here on YouTube for you guys. But that seems to be the best compromise. It's not so much the fact that you don't have enough heads and you're not able to continually monitor what's going on. It's just the fact that you need the balance between both detecting and transmitting, and adding the TX head seems to be an improvement to making sure both detection and the transmission is handled, not just continually monitoring and receiving. So that's why that is. Are MRCD, MRCT, and Gatso, not Gusto. Gusto is like enthusiasm. Gatso is the radar brand used in the USA now. MRCD is in some places in Texas, or sorry, not Texas, in New York. I've heard rumors of it being used in some places in Texas, but I haven't seen any confirmation about that. Other than that, these are international guns. And yeah, there's no reports of, there's like Gatso red light cameras, but they're not radar based. So just because the brand is here doesn't necessarily mean that they're using that low-powered radar technology. So as far as a low-powered radar, like the really low-powered stuff, MRCD is the only one, and that's only in just like a very few places in the U.S. Beaverton has red flags. Oh, it actually is red flags. Okay, cool. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, anyway, they should be detectable. I've run across them. I've had multiple detectors be able to detect them when I was down in Portland, so your detector should be able to detect it. It might be a different technology, what they use in Europe, because those ones can be extremely difficult to detect. And the one that I picked up, it was like 24.140 or somewhere in that range, 24.130, as opposed to the other red flex ones, which are like 23.9, which are very, very low in frequency. And so they can be outside the range that most US detectors are scanning for. And so if it's red flex, it's a different type of red flex than what we're seeing as like the really tough to detect one. So cool. I guess it is red flex. Thanks for confirming, but it's not the really difficult one to detect that we see and use elsewhere. I like the radar mount one better. I can tilt it to the driver's side. Yes. So there are some radar mount versus blend mount. There are some options as far as where you can move it and place it. It does have some advantages over the blend mount. That's true. So it's not, the blend mount is not universally better. There are some advantages, which is always kind of one of the tough parts of saying which one is better. And there's going to be exceptions to the rule. And so you're totally right. There's some times when the radar mount one would be better. So tough part of reviewing and comparison and saying which one is best. So good point. Thank you. I heard in Nevada, the police use and issue tickets off of POP. Is it true? There has never been any confirmation that any officers have ever given ticket with POP. POP is designed to preview speeds. And then when they see somebody that is speeding, then they would switch and flip over to traditional instant on radar. POP itself is not very accurate. It is not allowed to be used to issue citations. And it's kind of a pain to switch to it a lot of times. And it's tough to confirm if the officers are even using POP because radar detectors can and will false alert to POP. I have 33 here, 33.8 used in this area as well. I don't see it. Maybe Nevada's different. Can't say for sure, but I've never seen any indication that it's in use there. And the thing with Nevada, a lot of times it's so flat and open that you can get plenty of range. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Turn off POP. You are going to get better performance. You're going to get better range. You're going to get fewer false alerts. And just because your detector is just because your detector is alerting to pop does not mean that you are actually experiencing pop any more than your detector is alerting to K-band. It means that there's actually a police officer running K-band. There's many sources of K-band false alerts. Same thing with pop. There's many sources of pop false alerts. And so, yeah, that's the story about pop. Okay, David from Rhode Island, I presume. My state is going crazy installing stationary LiDAR speed guns. Yeah, so Rhode Island. Are they positioned? What LiDAR guns are they? Do you know? Do you know what type of system it is? Some of those are installed at an angle. Some of those are aimed forward. The guys in Australia had to deal with this a lot with the Polyscan, which is installed at an angle, and they actually shoot cars as they're driving down the road, and they are at a steep angle. And so they do have to take some of the heads and install them at an angle to counter those. There's been some good information about that from the guys in Australia. I know in Maryland they have the Polyscan, but I don't know if it's also the same steep angle stuff or it's more forward. So that would be something to research. Hop onto the forums and look around for the Australia guys and the Maryland guys. They have the Polyscan. I don't know if it's the exact same ones. Aimed at a very steep angle. Okay, perfect. So yeah, take a look on there and look at the measurements for angling the heads off at an angle. If it's front or if they shoot in the rear, I don't know. So asking the guys on RDF would be the best way to go. So cool. Okay, well, I think I need to go start getting ready for a gym, get all my stuff gathered today. So cool. Hope you guys are enjoying your Sunday. It's been great chatting with you. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for just hanging out. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. And perfect timing. Hola. Okay, perfect timing. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.